Finding yourself alone in later life is one of the deepest transitions we can face. After years of companionship, raising children, sharing life with a partner, or simply living among familiar rhythms, the sudden quiet can feel overwhelming. Whether it happens through loss, distance, or the natural course of time, loneliness after 60 or 70 is profoundly human. Yet here's what many won't tell you: being alone does not mean being lost. There is a quiet, courageous path forward. Today we will walk through 6 meaningful steps you can take to rebuild a life of peace, strength, and renewed purpose. These are not just comforting words. They are real, grounded actions that many have taken to not just endure solitude but to grow through it, to find a new kind of freedom within it. And if you stay with us to the end, you'll discover one final step, rarely spoken about, that could change everything. A shift in your inner world that can turn loneliness into quiet resilience, and transform solitude into something deeply nourishing. Let's take this first step together. Number 1. A practice of gratitude, however small. In the quiet moments of aging in solitude, one of the most powerful habits you can cultivate is also one of the gentlest. A simple practice of gratitude. Not the grand, sweeping kind that demands dramatic transformation, but the kind that lives quietly in the folds of an ordinary day. Gratitude that notices the warmth of the tea in your hands, the soft rustle of leaves outside your window, the way light falls across the room in the late afternoon. These are not small things. They are sacred signs that life is still here, offering itself to you, one moment at a time. Older, wiser souls know this. Gratitude does not erase pain or loneliness, but it softens it. It turns your gaze toward what remains instead of only what has been lost. You don't need a journal or a list, though those help. You simply need a pause, a breath, a willingness to say quietly, "I'm thankful for this." Even if this is just the way your favorite sweater still fits, or how the birds come to your window each morning like clockwork. There is science behind it, of course. Gratitude has been shown to improve sleep, lower stress, and even reduce feelings of isolation. But beyond that, gratitude is spiritual glue. It holds you to the world when everything else feels uncertain. It gently says, yes, life is different now, but it is still worth noticing, still worth treasuring. Take Eleanor, 84, who starts each evening by lighting a small candle and whispering thanks for 3 things, no matter how small. Sometimes it's the taste of toast. Sometimes it's the phone call that didn't come, but the peace she found instead. She says it's not about what she's grateful for, but who she becomes when she's grateful. And that is the gift. Gratitude doesn't change the world. It changes how you walk through it. If this reflection resonates with you, I invite you to comment number 1 below. Let's continue nurturing this space together, where wisdom, gentleness, and connection have room to grow. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing and turning on the bell, so you won't miss the next quiet conversation we share. Your presence here truly matters. We're still here. Still walking. Still finding beauty in the in-between. Number 2. Find a reason to step outside. One of the most powerful and healing things you can do when you are older and living alone is this. Find just one reason, any reason at all, to step outside every single day. Because the truth is, the longer you stay indoors, the smaller your world quietly becomes. And as your world grows smaller, it becomes far too easy to lose your sense of curiosity, your quiet joy, and your connection to the life still unfolding around you. Wise elders know this truth well. They don't wait for a sunny day or a grand occasion to give them permission. They step outside for the simplest reasons. To buy a single apple from the corner market. To sit on the front porch and feel the afternoon wind. To walk to the end of the street just to say hello to the day. It may seem small, but these little acts carry enormous weight. Being outside shifts your energy. It reminds your body how to move, your lungs how to breathe deeply, and your spirit that there is still a world worth showing up for. Psychologists have long understood the deep mental health benefits of stepping into natural light and open space. Even brief moments under the wide sky, seeing trees, feeling a breeze, standing under sunlight, can lift the mood, ease symptoms of depression, regulate your sleep patterns, and rekindle your inner vitality. But beyond all the research, beyond all the studies, there is something even more profound at work. The soul's quiet need to belong to something bigger than the 4 walls we live in. Take Carol, 77 years old, who lost her husband 5 years ago and now lives alone. Every morning, rain or shine, she walks 3 blocks to a tiny coffee stand. She orders the same thing each time, a small decaf with extra cream. Carol says it's not really about the coffee. It's about the neighbor who waves from the window. The familiar feel of the sidewalk under her feet. The simple act of moving toward something, no matter how small, that reminds her she is still part of the living, breathing world. When you're older, your body may no longer crave grand adventures the way it once did. But your soul still does. And stepping outside, even for 5 unhurried minutes, is a way of whispering to yourself, I'm still here. And the world is still here for me. If these reflections have touched your heart, I invite you to comment number 2 below. It's a beautiful way to let me know you're here, walking this quiet journey alongside. And if you haven't yet, consider subscribing and turning on the notification bell, so you won't miss any of the gentle conversations we share here. Your encouragement allows us to continue creating thoughtful content to uplift and inspire. Let's keep moving forward together. Number 3. Find a place to be seen. There is a quiet kind of ache that can grow when you live alone. Not simply from the absence of conversation or company, but from a deeper longing, the longing to be seen. That sense that your presence no longer leaves ripples in the world the way it once did. But the truth is, your presence still matters. It always has. It simply needs a place to land. Wise elders understand this. They make a gentle effort to create or find spaces where they are seen and heard, not necessarily in loud public ways but in consistent, meaningful ones. It might be a weekly visit to a local community center, a favorite chair at a familiar cafe, or a spot in a hobby group where others notice if you aren't there. It's not about seeking attention. It's about seeking acknowledgement, that simple, powerful human need to know that someone sees you, remembers you, values your presence. When you live alone, it's dangerously easy to slip into invisibility. Days can pass without anyone saying your name aloud, and that silence, over time, can quietly erode your sense of identity. But when someone greets you by name, when someone smiles and says, "Good to see you again," it stitches you back into the fabric of human connection. These micro moments of recognition are not trivial. They are lifelines. They restore a sense of belonging that nourishes the soul in ways that solitude alone cannot. Even small gestures matter. The cashier who remembers your favorite snack, the librarian who notices when you return a book, the neighbor who nods to you each morning. Each little sign whispers, "You are here. You are known. You are part of this world." Take Margaret, 79 years old, who decided to sit on the same bench near the town's rose garden every Tuesday afternoon. At first, no one noticed. But over time, a jogger began to wave. A boy riding his bike stopped one day just to ask her name. Now each week, Margaret exchanges waves and small smiles with 5 or 6 familiar faces. None of them are close friends. But that doesn't matter. She is no longer invisible. She has become part of the living landscape, and that, dear friend, makes all the difference. Number 4. Find a rhythm that carries you. When you are living alone, especially in the later seasons of life, the hours can sometimes begin to blur. Mornings stretch quietly into afternoons. Days pass with few clear markers to distinguish them. Time itself can feel like a vast, quiet sea, endless and still. But those who grow wise with age know a deeper truth. It is rhythm that keeps the mind and spirit afloat. This isn't just about routine, checking off tasks for the sake of being busy. It's about finding a gentle rhythm, something that not only provides structure, but also creates a sense of flow, of movement, of being carried forward even on days when you don't feel like moving at all. Your rhythm can be simple. It might be waking at the same hour each morning, tending to your garden with the first light, taking a quiet walk after lunch, writing a few lines in a journal before bed. The details matter far less than the consistency. It is the returning, the steady, familiar beat of daily life that gives your days a heartbeat of their own. Psychologically, rhythm brings stability and predictability, 2 quiet gifts that become even more precious when much else in life feels uncertain. Rhythm softens stress, supports restful sleep, and restores a sense of gentle control. But perhaps most importantly, it transforms waiting into living. When your day has a rhythm, you are no longer simply passing time. You are participating in your life again. Consider Walter, 82 years old, who keeps a simple handwritten calendar on his kitchen wall. Monday is soup day. Tuesday is crossword day. Wednesday he trims his roses. Thursday he calls his daughter. Friday is movie night, just himself and an old favorite. Saturday he rereads letters from years gone by. Sunday he rests. It may look like nothing to anyone else, Walter says with a smile, but to me it's everything. It's how I know I'm still living, not just existing. You don't need to fill every hour. 1 or 2 small daily anchors, a gesture, a ritual, a small pleasure you return to, can lift you gently out of that drifting feeling that sometimes comes with solitude. Over time, these small acts of rhythm build momentum. And when you are living alone, momentum is not a luxury, it is a quiet companion. Rhythm holds your hand through the long silences, gives your days a shape, And with each gentle turn of the clock, it whispers to you, "Let's go again." If these words are resonating with you, I invite you to comment number 4 below. It's a simple way to let me know you're still walking this path alongside me. And if you haven't yet, consider subscribing and turning on the notification bell. Your support helps us continue crafting thoughtful content to inspire and uplift. Let's continue this journey hand in hand. Number 5. Establish a physical anchoring routine. One of the first and wisest things many older adults do when they find themselves newly living alone is simple, yet profoundly powerful. They create a small, steady physical routine that anchors their day. Not for fitness, not for appearances, but for the simple vital need to feel grounded in their own life. When you live alone, time has a way of stretching and blurring. Days can lose their familiar edges, slipping into one another until it's easy to feel unmoored, adrift without even realizing it. A gentle, repeated movement, something as simple as stretching each morning, watering a beloved plant at the same hour, or walking a quiet path near home, can reweave a fragile but steady rhythm back into the fabric of your life. And rhythm, dear friend, creates a sense of control when much else feels uncertain. There's even a name for this in psychology: somatic grounding, the act of using the body to steady the mind. When your hands touch the same smooth wood of a chair each morning, when your bare feet feel the coolness of the floor, or when you lift your arms slowly with a deep breath, you are sending a quiet but powerful message to your nervous system. I am here. I am safe. I am still moving. This small daily ritual becomes a way to reclaim a sense of certainty, to draw a soft but strong boundary around your presence in the world. Take for instance someone like Harold, aged 81, who lost his beloved wife after 52 years of marriage. In those first hollow weeks, he began a simple ritual, walking each morning to the mailbox at the end of his drive, even on days when no mail came. It wasn't about the mail, Harold said with a quiet smile. It was about proving to myself that I was still part of the world. That one small act, humble and faithful, became his first brick in rebuilding a life that felt shattered. And that, truly, is what a physical anchoring routine can be. A soft but steady brick laid under your feet each day. A reminder that while the rooms of life may feel emptier now, the foundation, the strength of your spirit, remains steadfast and true. Number 6. Build community through small purpose. When you are older and living alone, it is all too easy to slip into the quiet belief that the world no longer needs you in the way it once did. But wise souls know a different truth, one that can breathe life back into even the loneliest of days. The fastest way to feel alive again is to find a small, meaningful way to be useful. This is not about grand gestures. It's not about heavy lifting or wearing yourself out in a rush to stay busy. It is about quiet contribution, the kind that asks little, yet offers everything. Finding purpose doesn't mean founding a charity or volunteering 5 days a week. It can be as simple as filling an extra bird feeder on your neighbor's porch, baking a pie for someone recovering from surgery, or reaching out with a gentle call to someone younger who might be going through a difficult patch. Tiny offerings like these reconnect you to the living, breathing web of humanity. They remind you without fanfare that your existence still matters in the daily rhythms of someone else's life. There is something deeply healing about being needed. It reassures the spirit that you are not simply passing time, you are still shaping time for others. Psychologists even have a name for this: generative purpose, a quiet drive to nurture, to contribute, to leave gentle imprints that ripple outward. And studies have shown that this kind of purpose is linked to lower rates of depression, better sleep, and even longer life in older adults. Not because of the size of what you do, but because of what it represents. You are still part of the circle. You still matter. Consider Ruth, 77 years old, who lives alone in a quiet neighborhood. She no longer drives, and the world could have easily forgotten her. But every Thursday she makes 3 simple phone calls to 3 different neighbors on her street. Not to offer advice, not to solve problems, just to listen. They call it their Thursday check-in, and it has become a ritual all of them look forward to. It gives Ruth a sense of purpose. It gives her neighbors reassurance. And it reminds them all that even in a fast-moving world, there is deep value in simply showing up for each other. No matter how small the act, your presence, your kindness, your listening ear, they are still needed more than you may ever realize. If you're finding these reflections meaningful, I warmly invite you to comment number 6 below. It's a simple way to let me know you're here, and that we are walking this journey together. And if you haven't already, consider subscribing and turning on notifications so you won't miss any of the heartfelt conversations we share here. Your support helps us continue creating thoughtful content to uplift and inspire. Now let's continue forward. Number 7. Create structure that anchors you. One of the quiet traps of living alone in older age is the slow, almost invisible drift into a life without rhythm. Days can begin to blur softly together, and before you even realize it, you find yourself living without clear shape, not out of choice but out of slow, unintentional drift. But wise souls who have traveled this road before know a valuable secret. Even a light, flexible routine can become a lifeline. Structure doesn't have to mean rigid schedules or strict demands. It can be as gentle as walking to the mailbox at the same time each morning, savoring your coffee on the porch while the same familiar radio station hums quietly in the background, or calling a dear friend every Sunday afternoon like clockwork. These small rituals act like quiet anchors. They give your day a beginning, a middle, and an end. They weave a sense of rhythm and purpose into the passing hours, and in doing so, they encourage you to keep moving forward with intention. When you are surrounded by others, much of your daily structure is formed naturally, around meals, conversations, responsibilities. But when you live alone, the rhythm of life must rise from within you. Without some form of chosen structure, even the smallest decisions, when to eat, what to do next, can start to feel unexpectedly heavy. And over time, that weight, unattended, can turn into a kind of emotional and mental fatigue that wears at your spirit. That is why wise elders gently choose to make certain parts of their day predictable. Because predictability nurtures stability. And in a world that can sometimes feel rushed, noisy, or uncertain, stability nourishes peace. Choosing a simple, repeating flow doesn't make life boring. On the contrary, it frees your mind from constant scrambling. It conserves your precious energy for the moments, choices, and joys that truly matter. Take Alex, 72 years old, who begins every morning with the same gentle routine. A slice of toast with peanut butter, a quiet chapter from a worn Western novel, and 10 unhurried minutes of stretching. He doesn't do it because he must. He does it because it sets the tone for his day, giving his body readiness, his mind steadiness, and his spirit a quiet push to keep going. Alex's routine is not glamorous, but it gives him something far greater: momentum. And when you are living alone, momentum can mean the difference between drifting through life and living it with quiet purpose. Final thoughts. If you've made it this far, thank you for staying with me through each of these quiet steps. Growing older, especially on your own, is not a failure or a fading. It's a return. A return to your inner strength, to the things that matter most, and to a quieter kind of wisdom that only time can offer. Solitude can feel heavy at times, yes, but it can also be a space of deep renewal. You are not forgotten. You are not invisible. You are still deeply, beautifully needed, in ways large and small. So wherever you are right now, by a window, at your kitchen table, or just resting in bed, know this: you are not walking alone. Each step you take to care for your body, your mind, your soul, is a step toward peace. And every moment you choose to show up, however softly, is an act of quiet courage. Thank you for being here. If these words have brought you comfort or reflection, I warmly invite you to do two things. First, leave a comment below. You can simply share which step meant the most to you, or just say, "I'm here." Second, if you haven't already, please subscribe and turn on the bell so you never miss the next gentle conversation we share. Your presence, your voice, and your quiet support are what make this community so meaningful. Until next time, stay steady, stay kind to yourself, and remember, there is still so much beauty left to live.